you very much, Exchange for Media, Dr. Batra, Naval, Karan, for giving me the privilege to chair this very eminent jury. And of course, thank you to all the jury members for their contribution. I think today's 40 under 40 recipients would be, as always, well-deserved, but more importantly, heartiest congratulations to each one of the winners who's in this audience. So with that, let me just do a very quick survey to understand who's in the audience. How many students in the audience? If you are a student of public relations or in a college, just raise your hand so that I know that you're still pursuing a career. None? How many people here who are under 30? Oh, all right, so potential 30 under 30s in the room. People in the 40s to 50s? All right, not many 40 under 40s, yes, in the room. And then, of course, there are some of us who are above 40. I won't tell you the age. All right, so with that, let me just, when Karan spoke to me about the keynote, well, he's talked about talking to the 40 under 40, so I've sort of mentally prepared to talk about that sort of audience. However, having listened to a few panels, I guess what you've gone through in the course of the morning is about the skill set that you need to acquire to be successful in this profession. Now, I've spent about 3 decades now in this profession. 95 is when I joined this public relations industry. I pivoted from my time in ITC as a business manager, and then I sort of pivoted to public relations purely by accident. And that's my journey of now 3 decades. So I've really seen public relations come into its own in many ways. So whether you know it as reputation management, strategic communication, corporate communication, public relations, doesn't really matter because the vocabulary ultimately leads us to the same sort of destination, which is to protect, preserve, propagate the reputation of a business, of your client, or its license to operate. Yeah? Are we on the same page? Right. So to me, we are going through quite a transformative environment. While transformation is natural, change is natural through the ages, when we talked about the advent of the television, we said everything else will die because television is the future. When internet came, we said everything else will die because internet is the future. And now when AI is in discussion, we are saying, well, AI will take over whatever we do. But I guess we're still around, right? And we'll continue to be around. But what I want to talk to you about fundamentally is not about the skill set that's going to, that you need, but really about what's going on as far as the world of public relations or corporate communication is concerned. Because when you think about the forces that are reshaping the way we want to conduct our business, how we conducted our business maybe 2 decades back to a decade back until now, I think those are the systematic changes that are taking place. And sometimes some of these changes are more tectonic in nature than we tend to understand. So where do we see ourselves, right? What's the 21st century communicator looks like and feels like? I think is the most important part. One, as young professionals or people who are at the beginning of your career or in the middle of your career, it's important to understand the fact that the skill set requirements are now multidisciplinary. There's no unifocal skill set. What concerns me is the fact that when I talk to young people about what's the day looking like, or what does your day look like, a large number of people tend to come back and say, we spend a lot of time pitching ourselves and our clients to the press. Am I wrong in assuming that, or am I correct in assuming that? Those who agree with me, so a large part of your time is still dedicated to trying to get some kind of press engagement going, right? And I'm not somebody here who's sitting here and deriding the fact that the press engagement is negative or positive. I think press engagement is important. is what you do with that engagement that is fundamentally shifting, right? We are moving from what I call a news-based organization to what is called a views-based environment, where perspectives, views become more important than the pure propagation of news. The difference between publicity and actually strategic media relations. But where does that lead us? If that fundamental shift is taking place, where does that lead you? To only one destination, knowledge. Because you can't have an honest or a substantive conversation with anybody, whether be it a journalist, whether be it a chambers of commerce or a research organization, if you don't have a grasp of the subject. So a very important part that's fundamental to what's happening in the world is the fact that we are becoming more knowledge-centric. It's no longer good enough to say, I'm a bridge builder and I'll be an interlocutor between a client or its entire media environment or a journalist. Paroma here was a very dear friend of mine for many, many years, started a career as a journalist, will tell you so. A journalist will not respect you if you don't come from a knowledge base. To have an intellectual conversation, you need to drive intellect into your work. I think that's the fundamental problem that we have. And when I see posts on LinkedIn about public relations people and media and journalism and press, and I feel bad that people at this point of time still continue to write about the fact that public relations people don't come with the level of preparation that is needed to engage in a meaningful manner. And I think that's where the rubber meets the road, and those who are successful and those who are not is at that point of intersection is how much you have invested yourself in powering your intellect. If you think your currency of trade is going to be relationships, you're already a dinosaur. So for me, if the public relations profession has to go into the 21st century, we have to move from a know-how business to a know-who business. You have to move from a know-how professional, know-who professional to a know-how professional, right? So you have to have a blend. And I don't think we are investing enough in building the know-how. So first and foremost, my advice or my suggestion to young professionals who are in this area is pursue knowledge. The more you understand, and again, I saw a couple of panels, whether it's the context or the nuance of the society, it's the context of your business, all of that can only come, or simple like storytelling or reading, what is it all about? It's about powering your intellect. If you can have a meaningful conversation about a subject with a client that you're, or a stakeholder that you're trying to engage, I would think that's the first point of reference. The second that you have is what's happening in the world with AI or internet or any of those emerging technologies is enabling you the power of insights. Your ability to generate insights about audiences, environment, is that much more powerful today if you know how to harness these technologies to your advantage. Are you doing that enough to be able to fuel you with the insights so that you can be relevant to the audiences? That's where the second point of contention is. Intellect backed by insights which allow you to stay relevant and compelling to your audiences is the name of the game. I can ask you a simple question. Unless somebody is talking relevance to you, you're half asleep. But the moment something is of relevance to you, your selective attention will get ignited, you'll be interested, and that's the first point of engagement. How do you stay relevant if you don't know what you want to say to the person in front of you? Whether it's direct, indirect, media, or any other form, understanding how people consume content, absorb content, and will respond to that content is not just a skill set, it's science. The way your mind functions and absorbs information is a science of neuroscience. So when you think about the future of public relations, I believe the trifecta of data science, social science, neuroscience is the investment in science that we will need to make to become professionals who can actually be in the business of influence or persuasion in an ethical way. Those are the words, those are the areas that I want to leave broadly these thoughts with you around knowledge, insights, and the pursuit of science to be able to generate the kind of influence or persuasive skills you need in the future to be able to become a top-notch professional. Interlocution on relationships, getting 2 stories out for your client is a flat world issue today. It's not a differentiator. That's really one part of what I call the capability matrix that I think is important. The second thought I want to leave you with is an investment in developing yourself as leaders. Having run a consulting business over the 3 decades, I never worked in corporate communications. I've always worked in the consulting world. Had the privilege of working in some of the finest environments, including my own firm, Genesis, which is now called Burson. I struggled with the fact that as young professionals grew in their roles, very little investment was made in building the capabilities of leadership. One of the things that I want to leave you behind thinking about is that you start as an individual contributor in your career. But over a period of time, as you grow, either in corporate communications or in the consulting world, you have other people who you work with. How you lead yourself to lead others is a skill that you need to acquire. Failure of leadership to actually work effectively as collaborators and as leaders is a very, very important investment that is critical to your growth in the industry. That is the 21st century skill, your ability to collaborate with people, at the same time manage yourself to lead others, is an investment that you need to consciously make to be able to advance your career. I'm a millennial. Some of you will be, no, you're millennials, I'm Gen X. And you'll work with Gen Z. Gen Alpha, not right. You're Gen, right? Have I got that right? Yes. So where's the transition? Some of you who are working at the cusp of that change are also going to start to work with the new generation of talent that's coming in, to the people who are in the 40s. How you adapt yourself and your leadership skill is a critical aspect to how you unlock the potential of the young talent in your business or your team members. That's an investment we often ignore to make because we only pursue a technical skill. It's important to sharpen your edge and your axe as a professional, but it's also important to sharpen the other aspect of your business, which is to be able to lead and work with other people. Those are my thoughts. Those are the lessons I've learned over the last 3 decades of how and what are the challenges that I have faced as I've grown along. And I'm happy to have a conversation with any one of you who wants to come by and have a chat while I'm here. But the 2 thoughts I want to leave behind: A, sharpen your axe as a professional. Think about the 21st century skill sets you need to be able to advance your career, but also don't forget the fact that we are a people's business. Working with people and collaborating and leading people in time ahead will be the key to your success. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate the honor and the privilege to be here. Cheers.
Thank you very